If you stop training after your race season by firing your coach or ditching your training plan, you're probably setting yourself up to plateau next year. At FasCat, we found that the most successful athletes don't just train hard for a few months, they train year round. They move from one phase to the next with structure and purpose without burning out or getting bored. And this training tip is about our 365 annual training plan, or ATP, a full year approach that keeps you progressing through all 12 months with a fall foundation, weights, base training in the off season, with intervals and event specific prep in the spring. And when you follow it, you don't just maintain fitness, you make real breakthroughs greater than where you were at this season. For example, if your FTP was 240 watts this year, with this approach, you could be pushing 260, 275, or even more by next year. So stick around to the end of the video, and then I'll show you exactly how to build your own annual training plan step by step. What's up, everyone? I'm Coach Frank. Some call me the Big Cat, and what I'm about to describe is the exact approach I used to go from Cat 5 to Pro back in my day, and the same approach I used this past year to get third in the Steamboat Gravel. It's also the same strategy I've refined over the past 20 years of coaching athletes, everyday cyclists with careers and kids and mortgages and, well, life. In other words, not a lot of time to train. I'd say on average about 6 to 8 hours per week. The magic that turns those 6 to 8 hours into 5 to 10% gains year after year is this consistent, periodized approach. It's the kind of progress that takes you from getting dropped on the group ride to being able to hang on at first and then being able to ride off the front. Similarly, with a gravel race, struggling the first year and then being able to finish strong and then being able to crack into the top 20, the top 10, maybe even stepping up onto the podium. And yeah, life is going to happen. Training plans are going to get interrupted. Things are going to go sideways. However, having this ATP provides the framework for you to return to and adjust when life punches you in the face. So that's exactly what I'm going to walk you through right now, each phase and how it fits together and how to time it around your goals. And yes, if this sounds like a lot to plan, that's where CoachCat comes in. Our 365 annual plan takes everything I'm about to describe and it builds it into your ATP for you. But first, let me show you the how, what, why, when, and where behind setting up your ATP so you understand how it works. Now, unbeknownst to a lot of people on the internet, structured training does not mean doing intervals week after week, 365 days a year. A proper annual training plan involves a postseason break, a fall foundation, cross training, weightlifting, base building, all time together for peak power output and form next spring and summer. A proper annual training plan crescendos from chill, methodical work to more and more rigorous training as your goal and goal events approach next year. It's focused, and if you commit to it, I promise you it works. So let's break down what year-round structured training looks like. And it starts with something most cyclists skip. It's counterintuitive, and that's a postseason break. Knowing when to take your postseason break is as simple as knowing when you want to be fast next season. In fact, knowing when you want to be fast next season determines the two next most important dates, which is when you'll begin building your base and then when you'll start lifting weights. Working backwards from that gives you a guide for when you should take your 2-week postseason break. Now, super quick, do not make the mistake of taking a 6-week break or longer, especially as a master cyclist, because you will lose a lot of the adaptations that you spent this year building. All that hard work flushed right out the toilet. And essentially, you'll spend half of next year just trying to get back to where you were this year. But by only taking 2 weeks, you ensure you benefit from the break and you're able to capitalize on all your hard work from this season. So the 3 dates are when you want to be fast next season, and that gives you a range for when you'll start your base building, and then that gives you a range for when to start lifting weights, which then gives you an idea when you should take your 2-week postseason break. Each phase flows into the next, and it all starts by putting these 3 dates on your calendar. And once you've got all those all set, you're ready to plug in the rest of your 365 annual plan. Think of it like this: 2 weeks postseason break, 3 weeks fall foundation, 10 weeks weights, 16 weeks of base, 6 to 8 weeks of intervals, 6 weeks of race specific prep. And then if you're going good, you got 2 weeks to taper and peak. That's 46 out of 52 weeks of the year, which you can then fill in with a phase of your training that you want to work on, or maybe a race and recover phase if you're competing week to week, which could also include your group rides as your competition. It also gives you room in case you have a business trip or you get sick or an injury or an illness. So let's walk through each of these phases, and then let's start with the 2-week postseason break. So after your last big race or event, take 2 full weeks off the bike. This is not a taper. It's not easy spins. It's not chill rides. I'm talking about a real recovery mentally and physically from the bike. Think of your 2-week postseason break like deep cleaning the blackboard that you did at the end of the day in elementary school. You'll come back fresher, more motivated, and then ready to build for next year, for the next 50 weeks of the year. Next comes your fall foundation. This is where you ease back in. No FTP tests, but you will do some muscle tension work, and you'll ride consistently, reconnecting with why you love the bike, and maybe even doing some cross training and some fall foliage rides. It's in this phase that you're going to begin to lay the groundwork for prepping your legs to enter the weight room. Once in the weight room, this is going to be your secret weapon to smash it next season. The athletes that do a 10-week weightlifting, cycling specific training plan are the ones that go in to just absolutely exceed their expectations in the following season. So in these 10 weeks, we'll go through 4 key phases. You do an adaptation phase, hypertrophy phase, strength, and power. In the adaptation, you're learning how to lift. You're teaching your body how to avoid injury. In the hypertrophy phase, you're going to build lean muscle mass that's going to go on to produce power. And then in the strength phase, you're going to teach that new lean muscle mass how to produce great force. And then in the power phase, you convert that new force-producing muscle to be able to make watts on the bike. This gives you the muscular foundation for big aerobic gains, which is going to come next. And it helps you resist the fatigue when your riding and your racing gets hard. And this is the fatigue resistance and the durability you may have heard and read about. So next is the 16-week base phase. This is where you build your aerobic engine. We use sweet spot training here because it gives you the most bang for your buck, especially if you're training 6 to 8 hours a week. It's like we say, you ain't got time for that zone 2. So you'll build your aerobic base, you'll increase your mitochondrial density, and you'll lay down the fitness that lasts. We like to see athletes increase their level 5 to 10 points per 4-week block during this phase. So if you're at 50 at the beginning of this base phase, expect to be 90 plus at the end. Next comes switching from base to race. This is where you'll have 6 to 8 weeks before your goal event to switch from base building to race prep. And we're talking about going from pyramidal sweet spot style training to polarized high intensity, fresh intervals. And when we talk about intervals during this phase, we're talking about threshold, VO2, and anaerobic. And threshold could consist of 2x20s, 3x15s, and VO2s are going to consist of 3 minuters, 4 minuters, and 5 minuters. In fact, this plan has the legendary 3, 4, 5 minute VO2 max progression. And then anaerobic is going to be your 1 minuters and your 30 seconders. And when you combine those after all that base you've done, which is after all that weightlifting you're done, we're talking big improvement. And after that comes your group ride training phase or your race specific prep phase. We are big fans of group ride training. They're fun and they're perfect for sharpening your form. And in my opinion, when done properly, they're incredible training. You can use them to practice tactics, improve your pack riding skills. And the holy grail of group ride training is the group can push you harder than you could push yourself on your own with intervals. And the reason why? That extrinsic motivation. You want to beat your friends. You want to hang tough. You're going to dig deeper on the group ride than you could trick yourself to digging on your own with intervals. Don't get me wrong, intervals have their own place, but group ride training does too. It's also a great opportunity to get used to surges and sprints and the unpredictable nature of how it is racing in a group, which is going to help you in your road racing, your criterium racing, cyclocross, gravel, fondo, you name it. When we do this phase, we're talking about 1 structured workout per week, 1 to 2 group rides per week, and then a longer aerobic ride maybe on the weekends. You can also do long group rides on the weekends. So as a wrap up, each phase builds on the last. You're not doing intervals all year round. You're shifting focus on purpose so that your fitness evolves rather than peaks and crashes. We're not talking about like slamming down 8 weeks of hardcore training, like cramming for your college exam. We're talking about methodical, well thought out, periodized science for even greater gains. And so this is how you turn 6 to 8 hours a week into meaningful progress month after month and year after year. Now that you know the rationale, the next step is to put the events on your calendar. Work backwards from your known A races. And if you're not racing or you're training for fitness, put on your calendar for when you want to be fit, such as the start of your group ride season or when the weather gets good where you live, or simply when you plan to do your big rides, or maybe you're taking a cycling trip. Use that as your A event to work backwards from. You could even think about when you're going to want to try to attempt a Strava PR or a KOM. But there is one problem, as I've mentioned before. Life is going to happen. You're going to miss some workouts. You're going to get sick. You're going to have to take a trip. You're going to maybe get sick or injured. And now your plan needs to adjust. Even professional riders deal with this. And that's why having a good annual training plan in place, it provides the framework so that you have the flexibility to adapt with what you have going on. And you don't have to rework it around. What you can do is move the start dates of these phases around. Inside the CoachCat app, you can ask the AI directly, hey, I missed the last 3 workouts. What should I do now? Or I have a work trip coming up for a whole week that's going to impact my weightlifting. What should I do? And you're going to get real feedback on how to adjust your plan. CoachCat will revise your plan in real time so you can stay on track with your training that still fits this bigger ATP picture. And that's the real benefit of having an annual training plan. It's smart coaching, and then it involves with your life. Think of it like your roadmap, a blueprint for success, and then think of the day-to-day calendar as the details that you use to execute on. So if you're ready to train smarter and make consistent gains without burning out, you can set up your ATP by applying our 365 annual training plan right now in CoachCat's training library. This will take the guesswork out of what I just described above. The only thing you need to know is when you're going to begin it. And alternatively, you can build it your way. You can add each phase on your own when you're ready, depending on where you're at. You can add our 2-week postseason break, our 3-week fall foundation, 10-week weightlifting plan, 16 weeks of sweet spot base, any race-specific interval prep plan or a group ride plan. You can add those to your calendar one by one, again, depending on where you're at in the season. The best part about it is you get access to all these plans in the entire CoachCat training library with your membership, and you can mix and match and customize to fit your goals, your events, and your life. And then with all this is a little overwhelming, you do get to talk with a coach when you first on board. They can consult with you about the plan that you have set up. But if you want even more personalization, more feedback, and more help, you can hire a FasCat coach for the ultimate customization and strategic considerations. But overall, try the 365 annual training plan. It's free for the first 30 days. It's inside the CoachCat app. You can take the guesswork out of what I've just described of when to take these rest weeks and the timing of everything. We've built that all in so you don't have to think about it. And a lot of athletes ask us, do I have to race to use this plan? The answer is no. It's really phenomenal for just getting fit for next year, maybe for your group rides, your fondos, your big summer trips. And then the other question we get is, what if I'm watching this video or reading this training tip late in the game? The answer is you can just pick up the right phase with where you are now. Just reach out to us and we'll be able to help you with that. And then another big question we get all the time is, do I need a power meter to do this? Or what if I'm training indoors? And you can follow this plan with or without a power meter. You can use heart rate based training. You can go by feel. You can do these workouts indoors and outdoors. You can mix and match depending on your weather and your time frame and your preferences. That's the best part about it. It works indoors and outdoors with power meters, with heart rate monitors, and with feel. So that is it, my friends. Subscribe to our channel if this helped you, because as we go through the next few months, I'm going to be recording training tips and videos on each of these phases in more in-depth successive videos. So drop us a comment below at where you're at in your season. I know it's a little early when we recorded this in July, but we're professional planners. We're advanced planning, and we're always thinking about where we're going to help you go as you move forward. So let us know what your goals are for next year, and we'd love to help you get you there for the next step of your cycling journey, because cycling is more fun when you are fit. And that is it, my friends. Thanks for watching. You know what to do. Work hard, ride fast. And as always, FTF. Peace.